This is a Think Live Be production.
3, 2, 1. Seeking the best, being my best. Do do da 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 da. Seeking the best, seeking the best, seeking the best, best,
Welcome to Seeking the Best. This is the podcast for real estate agents who know they're capable of more and want to get there without burning out. I am your host, Kathryn Stelljes. Sitting across from me is my co-host and sound engineer, producer extraordinaire, Patrick Fatika.
Good morning.
Good morning. I think I bungled the intro.
It sounded fine.
Listen, this is a professional podcast where I try to remember what I'm supposed to say instead of actually having it written down in front of me. That's all. So we are talking about time on this season.
Yep.
And all things related to how we waste it and lose it. How it seems unfair sometimes where you look at other agents and you're like, how are they able to sell that many houses and do all the things? There's not enough time for that. And I've been there before. Mm-hmm. And yet it's all about how we use it. And I never really like the term management, like time management, but that is what it is. Like,
why don't you like that term?
I don't know. Maybe it's overused.
So it gets said so often that it just doesn't have the punch of impact that what it actually means. Because people say time management.
You just manage your time better. Yeah. But there's so much more to it than just simply setting a schedule.
I have to turn my headphones up. You can keep talking.
Okay. Professional show here. There's so much more to it than just setting your schedule. First of all, you've got to follow the schedule. But then that's the part where our personalities and our characteristics and habits is a really good one to use here. Get in the way of managing that time. Like I set a schedule every week. My habits of my the way that I live my life get in the way of that schedule. Mm-hmm. And I think if you're listening to this, then you're listening to this, and it's probably resonating with everyone because we all have habits that are not serving us well.
You mean bad habits?
They're bad habits, but they're not necessarily like you're not necessarily a bad person.
No, you fall into I always like to say the path of least resistance. It's the easiest way to get to wherever it is that you want to go. And so your mind and your body naturally go in that direction.
They're trying to survive.
And so in order to break those habits, in order to do you have to first recognize it, and then it hurts a little bit when you want to change that. But the first is recognizing,
Well, and I have a bad habit. It's just a habit of over the years, and I've had to learn, I guess, unlearn it, but I still fall into it sometimes where if I don't feel like it, then that's going to get in the way of getting stuff done.
Well, yeah.
My personal, like the way my body feels, the way my mental state feels dictate how the day goes, right? And so if I'm not in the zone to lead generate, then I'm going to look for something else to do.
Kat, that's normal. I mean, that's just,
sure.
I think that's just
I wasn't saying
humanity.
I was unique in that.
I think that's just humanity. And what makes it hard with being an agent is, unless you're on a team where somebody's telling you have to do this, 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 and this, you're your own boss. Mm-hmm. So it's super easy to tell the boss to take a hike, right? Because you're not worried about getting fired. So it's easier to fall into those habits because there isn't anyone telling you not to do it. Even though you might be telling yourself in your head, you don't always listen.
But and oftentimes what you're telling yourself in your head is like, Well, one day is not going to make that big of a difference.
Right. I'll do it later. I'll get to it. It doesn't matter if it's today. All of those things. Yeah. I'll make it up later. You justify things. And I think that's just a normal thing that just humans do. But when, like I said, when you're your own boss and it's all kind of on your shoulders, and you've said this before, being in real estate is a lonely job. Mm-hmm. That you can kind of justify things and push things out of your head, and all of a sudden, look up and it's August.
November.
Yeah, and so being honest with yourself, I think this is kind of off topic. I know this isn't the direction we're going, but it's a lot of the things that we've talked about this season about finding a place where you feel comfortable and going over your schedule for the week and doing, these are all, everything that we've kind of talked about up until now for the season. These are all ways that for you to be present in your career, so that you don't fool yourself into fall into those habits. It forces you to have some sort of self, what's the word I'm looking for?
Reflection?
No,
Awareness.
Well, all of that, but accountability.
Okay. Yeah,
Self-accountability. By sitting on a Saturday and going through, what did I do this past week? What did I make a list of everything I did? We talked about that over this season. Did I create a schedule for myself for the week? Did I follow it? Where did I fall off? By self-reflecting on that, you also create an accountability for yourself. And when you have a career where you're kind of alone the whole time, and if you don't have that accountability because you're on a team or you're in, you have a coach or whatever, then you have to put it on yourself. And that's a lot to do. And on top of that, still do my job. Yeah.
That's interesting. You said self accountability, and I was like, that's kind of repetitive. Like, to be accountable, who else are you? I mean, I guess you can be accountable to other people, but most of the time when you're making commitments, whether it's goals for work or I'm going to lose 10 pounds or whatever your commitments are that you're making, it's to yourself.
Yeah.
So accountability is
but you have to, but a lot of people, and myself included, it's like you don't hold yourself accountable. Not really. Like, you might think about it here or there, but you actually sit down. Like, I know you do this because that's what we've been talking about, is sitting on the back porch with my spreadsheet and my calendar of what did I do this week and what can I do to make that better and where did I mess up and all of those things. That's self-accountability. And even though you're kind of mixing it in with like time management and scheduling and all of that stuff, but that's really what that is. But a lot of people don't do that. I don't really do that. Not in that way. But when you have a career where there isn't anyone else that you're accountable to, then you have to kind of do it yourself.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even if you have a coach, which not everyone does, and it's something that you have to have revenue, and you have to get to a place where you can afford to pay somebody to help hold you accountable, because we are all our worst bosses.
It's why we always say, find somebody in the office that you can do script practice with, that you can be accountable. It's why a lot of agents who don't know what they're doing meet up with their friend and say, let's be on a team together and we'll split all the things. And it's like, what you're looking for there is accountability. You don't know how to say it, and you might not have put two and two together. But whenever I see agents that are trying to team up without actually following like the MREA models, but that's kind of what that is like, I'm looking for accountability. I don't know what that means. I don't know exactly what it is. They can't put their finger on it, but that's what it is when you're wandering around by yourself. And even worse, like, what if you don't even go into the office? What if you are at a brokerage that's got a remote that's a remote brokerage. There is no brick and mortar, or you don't have the money to pay for a cubicle or an office space. So you don't really go in there, and you just kind of work from home and just kind of pacing around your condo. And like, it's like, and then you got to hold yourself accountable. It's a lot to kind of wrap your mind around,
Yeah. And you have to be careful with choosing somebody to be like an accountability partner, because it's really easy to get stuck with somebody who actually is not, their goals are not aligned with yours.
Right.
And you're not going to find that to be a helpful relationship.
Yeah. Before you can find an accountability partner, but that is not like, hey, do you want to do this? Yeah, sure. That sounds like fun. That is a real conversation that has to be had about what you just said. Are our goals aligned? Does my accountability partner, before they become one, do they have the same goals that I do, or similar goals, or are their goals way behind me or way above me?
And I don't even mean the same unit numbers. I just mean the action of like,
do you want to seek your best, or are you just kind of floating around and seeing if this whole real estate thing works out?
Right. Like, I'm trying to decide if this is the right industry for me.
That's not the person. Yeah.
By the way, this is totally off topic now, but there are a lot of people I've noticed, and maybe when I got my license, I don't know. I don't know that I went into this with like, let me see if this is a good place for me to be. I don't remember thinking that. I remember thinking like, okay, I'm going to go be a realtor. It was just
like, I'm going to
go do this.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. I don't think there was ever, let me dip my toe in and see if this is for me. So you were just like, I'm going to go get my real estate license and be a realtor. And I was like, okay.
And then, so I think if you say to yourself, I'm going to get my real estate license and see if this is the right fit for me, or I'm looking for a new industry or a new career, and I've always had my eye on real estate, and I'm curious to see if I can.
It seems fun.
You're kind of setting yourself up for some failure there, because it takes such a long time to get off the runway.
Yeah, 100%.
To see success, because you literally are opening your own business. You just might be affiliated with a national brand or something. But
you don't actually get to do what the job really is. You don't get to experience that on a daily basis until you're in it for a couple years, really. Mm-hmm. And you can't just dip your toe into something for a couple years. It's like you have to make the commitment, I'm going to do this or I'm not. It's why so many people used to have a real estate license.
Yeah, seriously. Do you know how many listing appointments I've gone into and they're like, oh yeah, I had my license at one point.
Yeah, there's a reason. Yeah, cool. Because people get their license and they're like, let me just see how this is. And it's like you never have an opportunity to see how it is, because it takes a long time before you can experience the life of a real estate agent. You know what I mean? Where you're actually making money and you're supporting yourself and you're not all of the things. It doesn't. Don't just do that like on the first day. Yeah.
But anyways, we're talking time.
They all know this anyway. Everyone listening knows all of this.
I don't know that that's true.
Yeah, they do.
But we're talking about time because, as I said, when we first got started with this year and this season, it is like the one thing that we do all have. Like, we are all created equal in this one area of our lives. And how you use it then determines what else you can accomplish. And we all go around saying like, I don't have enough time. I can't figure out how to make more time. And it comes down to a lot of different habits and building better systems and habits to better manage your time. And I guess that's what I meant when I don't like the word time management, because it's not a management of the time. Usually that's the issue. Like, people can make a good schedule. Their just natural personality gets in the way of keeping it. Mm-hmm. Whether that be fear of doing the things they put on the schedule or whatever. But so one of the things that I think really gets in the way of having a balanced life, because when we're talking about time, I'm not talking about how to fit more sales into the day. I'm talking about having a life where you actually get to enjoy some time that's not just selling houses.
Right.
And so how do we have that kind of management of time? And I think that comes down to one word, which is boundaries. Boundaries around like clients and other agents, people in your office, your family, and yourself, and how you decide when you're going to work, when you're going to communicate, and then keeping that boundary and respecting it. And I know, like, one of the biggest challenges with that is that if you don't, the saying, if it's not in your calendar, it doesn't exist. So when somebody asks something of you and there's not something that's actually blocking the calendar, you oftentimes can make the excuse for yourself, well, I don't really have anything else going on, so I
need the sale.
I might as well go show this house. I might as well go to this listing appointment on Sunday afternoon, instead of taking some time to reset, refresh, maybe revisit how you did last week. And so boundaries are that's what we're going to dig into a little bit on this episode. But I was reading the MREA book this morning because I've read this thing.
Her new one.
It's my new one. Did I say this already on the podcast?
I don't think so.
I got the leadership version, which is in a spiral bound with tabbies. Mm-hmm. And so my other one was, 5 different highlighter colors. Every page is like dog-eared and folded over for various reasons. So you can't actually find anything anymore because every page is highlighted. So I got a new one and I'm rereading it again. And
is it the same book?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, is there additional stuff in it because of it being like the teaching? Book?
I don't think there's other stuff except for there's like sort of a glossary, it says diagnosis, prescription for an agent, prescription for an MREA. And so you can, once you've read the book like several times, then you can use it as okay, I really need to work on lead generation. So I'm just going to go to that section. And then the tab takes you there, and the tab has sort of an outline of what's in the
what's
chapter.
In that section.
Yeah,
okay.
That, or
so it's just
not chapter,
slightly different format, but all the same information.
Yeah. But so I started and I was like just looking at a couple of sections, and then I was like, I'm just going to read the whole thing over again. And I read this line, which at first I don't think this is going to make sense as to why I'm reading this quote in a topic about boundaries, but just hear me out for a second. So it says, in life, one of the toughest obstacles we can face is the difference between how we see ourselves and how others see us. What lies in between the two perspectives can be an obstacle to effective communication and a source of misunderstanding. I was like, that's very interesting, because what I think of when I read that last part is oftentimes people see us differently than what we want to portray as an agent,
or what we think we're portraying.
And what I mean by that is if people see you as a door opener, then guess what they're going to want you to do on Sunday afternoon?
Mm-hmm.
If they see you as a high value professional who has service hours and you have to schedule appointments with, then they wouldn't ask for that.
If you approach your clients real casually, yeah, that's fine. Whatever you want to do. Right?
Yeah.
Guess what you just told them?
Well,
whatever you want to do. And you think, well, it's because I want to be there for my clients, but that's not what they're hearing.
Well, so I was thinking about this through the lens of one particular situation, which I'm not really going to go into on this episode, but let's just say when people might be friends of yours and we...
Oh, yeah, this is great.
When we preach work with your sphere, that is a wonderful source of business. And so you might have people that are friends or acquaintances that they might view you as that, who happens to have a real estate license. And it's not that they don't think that you know what you're doing and you're smart and everything, but
they think of you as, I'm just going to use your name. You're my friend Kathryn, who has a real estate license, not I have a realtor who's also my friend.
Right.
Right.
And so if that's how they perceive you, guess what's going to possibly happen?
This took a long, by the way, this took a long time, not a long time. Well, I guess it did, but coming to those realizations, I remember when you were first starting, you had the tendency to not maybe have a little bit of an imposter syndrome and not see yourself as a realtor or being able to help because you didn't have the experience.
Well, and our listeners,
so
if you're newer, like you probably are feeling that.
That's what I'm getting at. So it's hard if you're newer. I don't have a ton of experience, so I don't really feel like a realtor, and I feel like they're doing me a favor by asking me to help them. So I have to do right. So I'm sure that listeners are saying to themselves, I have a little bit of that imposter syndrome. I'm just happy to be working with them. So what am I supposed to do?
Well, and so what happens is that they perceive you as a friend with a real estate license who's helping them out. And so, hey, do you mind, can I get in here to do XYZ? Can I come measure the rooms I'm available Sunday at 8 p.m. And you're like, okay. Because two things just happened. Number one, they asked because that's how they see you. Mm-hmm. And number two, you said yes because you don't have any boundaries and you didn't set any expectations. And it's a vicious cycle of like, you'll find yourself constantly battling that unless you really start to put some boundaries around things. And you can start really simple. Like one of the things, well, and let me go back to the quote because what can happen is it can be a source of misunderstanding. So what happens if you say no to meeting them to measure rooms? I'm just making up an example at 8 p.m. And you're like, I'm not able to do that. They might be frustrated with you. Mm-hmm.
And you might not even say anything. Mm-hmm. You might, so that's why you're going to go, right? Because you have a feeling inside that if I say no to this, they're going to get frustrated.
Yeah. Because you created a situation where,
and you did,
they see you as a different thing than what you are to them.
Yeah.
Or maybe that's who you are to them. You open the door, you do whatever they say, and you're not actually a high level agent giving them advice. You're just opening the door. You're just doing what they said. They said, I want to make an offer $100,000 less. And you're like, okay. So you do set up how they perceive you. And what I'm suggesting is you can stop right now and set up some boundaries for yourself so that this doesn't happen.
The first thing is, did you do a consultation in the office with them?
Well, yes.
Right?
I mean, there's on the front end.
How did this whole thing start to where now you're opening doors at 8 o'clock at night so that they can measure rooms? And you, right? Where did that start, and what expectations were set at the beginning to set this up in a way where it's like, this is my business. I'm a professional. I will lead the way. I will be the guide and show you how and tell you how all of this works. Or were you guys arm in arm buddies and be like, yeah, whatever you want? And now all of a sudden you're mad because you have to go put your shoes on and go open a door at 8 o'clock on a Saturday or on a Sunday night.
So couple tweaks to just initial, like first things that come to mind that I've done over the years. So the first thing is I changed my voicemail years ago to where it says our office hours. And then if you leave a message after 6 p.m., I'll return the call the next business day. Mm-hmm. Just that one tweak, because they will call you and they'll get that voicemail. That one tweak sets the tone of a business. Like, this is a business operation. I'm going to call you back during business hours. Mm-hmm. And then other things are...
I can hear them saying, but I want to be there for my clients. I don't like the idea that they can't get... Because I've heard them say, I'm available whenever you need me.
The worst thing...
24/7, I'm available. It's like, I know they say it. I know that we have listeners right now that have used those words. I'm available. And they're saying back out in their car when they're listening, they're going, I would never do that. I would never give people the parameters.
Can
I
I
want to
tell
be
you-
there for my clients. And all I have to say to you is you're not protecting your time.
Well, and there's no scenario in which you're the best agent for them at 9 o'clock at night or 10 o'clock
Well,
at night.
that's a different story, but yes, that's true.
You're not helping them by doing that. You really aren't. But I just thought of something. My one of the home inspectors that I've worked with for a really long time, he'll tell people in his little spiel at the end of the inspection, like if they ever have any questions, even after they close, that just to reach out and we'll respond. We're 24/7. Reach out to us. And I said, and he's like, even if you call at like 10 o'clock at night, you leave a voicemail, we'll call you back. And then I say, don't call me at 10 p.m. because I'm in bed. And then we all laugh. And I'm like, no, I'm serious. But seriously, I've made it a habit now of letting people know, because here's what happens. So we have an inspection period for buyers, right? Inspection period in our contracts, and I know a lot of other people, the deadline is 11:59 p.m. And so people will say, like, well, when is the deadline? And I say, well, technically it's 11:59 p.m., but I go to bed at around 9:30, 10 o'clock every night. So we're going to have it wrapped up by 5 p.m.
Right.
Okay.
I think setting those boundaries and also like for the people that are listening and saying that, like, this it's different for everybody. I understand that. Okay. Kathryn sets these really tight boundaries on this kind of stuff. She does it all with a smile, first of all. And it works for her. Kathryn, if 80% or maybe more than that of Kathryn's business comes from Sphere and past clients. So if those people didn't feel like they were getting what they wanted, then why is most of her business coming from past clients and Sphere? It wouldn't be, right? If they weren't getting what they wanted, then they wouldn't come back, but they do. Kathryn also, she's not going to toot her own horn, but just got top producer, top 100 in all of Central Florida, right?
It's this, yeah.
So we're not going to get into the number of sales.
Well, hold on. If you're going to toot my horn for me, I was in the top 100 of around 23,000 real estate agents.
Top producer.
For the Orlando Real Producers, which they measure for the Central Florida area.
Right. So my point of all of this isn't to give her compliments. She gets those all the time. My point is to say that you can do this without saying 24/7 and still give your clients enough attention that they come back again and again and again, because I'm looking across at somebody whose 80% of their business comes from that, and they're in the top 100 sales of all of Central Florida. So how does that happen with her saying, don't call me at 9 o'clock?
Well, I don't say it like that.
Of course she doesn't. I already said that. She does it with a smile, but so it can be done. You have to put up boundaries and you have to stick to them, and you have to be conscious of it while you're doing it.
So it's hard, by the way.
Yeah.
Because there are plenty of times where I like get outside my own boundaries because I need to get something done.
Yeah, but
And-
I think that's okay. I think that's okay because it allows you to be able to do that.
Well,
like
so
when there is something, and this poor woman, she has been trying so hard to do what, and her husband left her, and so you can go when there's those clients where it's like, I am going to go a little bit above and beyond what I would normally do because this poor lady, she deserves it. She needs a win and stuff. It allows you to be able to do that.
Well, I was going to say, not everything is urgent or time sensitive. In fact, most of it is not. And when you get really busy, you have to prioritize like that. And so it does help. Like the busier you become, the more boundaries you have to set up anyways. But I'm just suggesting, like, if you're a newer agent or if you're having a down year or you did last year, like now's a good time to sort of reset that. And it isn't going to take away from your business. In fact, it will make you better for it because you got to fit in a normal schedule which will make you more productive during the hours you're actually working because you're focused on that one thing and you're batching. So your brain is working on that one activity, and then move on. Go have dinner. Don't worry about the other text messages or calls that aren't urgent, but just set up expectations so that there's not a misunderstanding. I'm going to, before we take a break, I would say with my productivity coaching clients or like new agents that are in mentoring, there's this thing in the MREA book that is how you get people to remember who you are. It's called an 8x8 program.
Oh, I haven't heard that in a long time.
And it's 8 touches over 8 weeks. And you can do it faster if it's like actually a lead. But when you're building a sphere, you're supposed to like get them to know who you are. And I always add the last part, as a realtor.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if you like, whether you just graduated from college and you got your real estate license and you want people to think of you as a professional instead of a student and a young person, been there, or you are changing from a different industry into this new career and you want people to not think of you as a CPA anymore, you want them to think of you as a realtor, or whatever your transition is, you have to get in front of them and set the tone of that I like this phrase, like you're the economist of choice in your local real estate market. Mm-hmm. So what information are you sending them? And is it showing them that you're having a fun time? I'm not saying you can't have social media and like do fun things and stuff, but is it showing them that you're a busy professional, or is it like, look at me? Yeah. Like, I'm out here looking at houses. Isn't this fun? Yeah. You set the tone of what type of professional you are and how you expect people to treat you. And so everything you're producing, your email, your phone, the script that you're using, the information that you're providing them, the direct mail that you're sending them, if you're showing them that you know the market, then you're setting the tone that you're a real estate professional. That's what the 8x8 should be about. It should be about showing them who you are as a real estate professional so that you set the tone for the next, 20 years career, that this is a professional service industry. Sorry, that was a little ranty.
Yeah, but that's okay. I don't think that takes long. It is presenting that. You can't really just send an email and say, "Hey, I'm a realtor now," and then go, "Well, they know I have a real estate license, so that when they're ready, they'll call me. They're my friends." Because we've all heard the stories and we've all seen it a million times where you got your real estate license, somebody and all of a sudden one of your closest friends is off looking at houses with somebody else. And it's like, well, they knew I was an agent. They didn't see you as an agent. If they saw you as an agent, they would have called you.
That goes back to my quote.
Right.
That how they perceive you.
Correct.
And how we see ourselves can lead to misunderstandings.
Right. And that's that whenever that happens, that's why. If they saw you as the consummate professional real estate agent of choice, why would they call somebody else? They wouldn't, right? They don't see you that way. So it's how do you present that and keep that relationship in that way? And guess what? If you can do that, and they will see, and they do see you like that, you won't be showing houses at 8:00 on a Sunday night. You see what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, all right, let's take a quick break and we'll be right back.
If you're enjoying this episode and want more ways to seek your best, not just in your business, but in how you spend your time and energy, there are a few easy places to connect with us beyond the podcast.
Over on YouTube, you can find us at Seeking the Best Pod. We share full episodes of the show, short coaching clips, reviews of real estate products, and tips on building a real estate business that actually works in real life. We post videos on Thursday mornings.
Or find us on Instagram at On Seeking the Best. There we post behind the scene moments, short practical tips, and some of the real unfiltered stuff that doesn't always make it into the show.
And if you're looking for episode supplements like the Candy Bag, where Kat posts more in-depth ideas that we discuss on the episodes, head to onseekingthebest.com. You can learn more about us, buy some Seeking the Best merch, or send us a question that we'll answer on the show.
However you connect with us, thanks for being here and keep seeking your best.
And we're back.
Okay, so let's talk specifics. So in real estate, you kind of have two types of clients. You have sellers and you have buyers. And then there's other people that, let's just say there's another category of boundaries that you need to set with like other agents and maybe your office people. And we'll just call that general. So looking at sellers, boundaries that need to be set for sellers. So first of all, sellers are less time consuming and specifically less outside the hours of normal business. Like you can, for the most part, set up expectations to have any calls, appointments during business hours, or you might have to go on the initial listing appointment in the evening or weekend or something. But for the most part, they're going to be less of your challenge with time management than buyers will be. I think that's a fair statement. Mm-hmm. So with sellers, though, some of the things I've run into with them and maybe expectations is when you start to have showings, they're like texting you for feedback and they want immediate feedback. Well, and we know as agents that's not possible. And so you need to set up it's an expectation, but it's also a boundary, because if they have a showing at 7 p.m., please don't text me at 7:30 asking me what did they think of it. And then also on the same line, sometimes they're texting because like they're like, the person hasn't showed up yet. And it's like, do you know how many text messages and phone calls I would have to deal with if every listing of mine, the owners were texting and calling every time there was a showing? Mm-hmm. We'd get nothing done. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't be possible at certain times of my career.
Yeah.
And so it's expectation setting, but it's boundaries and systems. Systems solve some of these problems too, right? So with sellers, I typically will I'm going to explain the showing process to them. And I'm going to tell them to be gone from their house during the time frame in which the showing is scheduled. And I'm going to say, sometimes other agents don't show up on time. And sometimes they don't show up at all. And I wish that I could stop that from happening. And it's part of selling a house. So I want you to be gone during the time frame and then go home. If somebody's still there, please wait out in your car. But there is no need to text or call me. If I get communication from another agent that they're not going to show, I will reach out and let you know. I will let you know. But if I don't have any communication, we're going to assume that they're going to be there during that time frame. Fair? So you're just setting that expectation and letting them know, like, I won't be, constantly communicating with you about every showing. That's what the showing time, like we use showing time. That's what that's for, is that we allowed the agent to choose the time frame that they were going to arrive. You be gone during that time frame. You come home when it's done. It's that simple. And then setting the expectation that I will not have feedback for you after the showing. The agent and the buyer needs time to think about it, and the agent needs time to gather that feedback. So we will report that weekly in our comprehensive update. Setting the tone for that way they understand, like, you do not need to text me or call me. I'm aware that showings are happening. I set up the system in which we have showings for your house. Like,
well, it's what you just said, right? So let's say you don't do that and you've gotten a couple text messages from showings. Now they called you and said, I can't believe these people didn't show up, and you've got to talk them down and all of those things. And then all of a sudden you say to them, look, moving forward, right now you're taking something away from them. That's
a great point. It's hard. Like, boundaries work when you set up this from the beginning of the relationship. Otherwise it's a take back as far as they're concerned. And you don't ever want to make people feel that way. So I'm also not suggesting like you change a relationship you already have midway through a sale.
You're just going to have to.
And guess what?
Keep doing it, moving forward.
Like,
you live, you learn, right?
Literally. So during the crazy times of the pandemic, when things like when in Florida, we were considered essential workers. And so after like the first couple weeks of shutdown, we were back to work.
Yeah.
And then it got crazy.
Yeah.
Right. And then it got crazy for everybody else too. But during that time, boundaries went off the rails.
Yeah.
And it got insane. And
'Cause
I
some
remember
people-
thinking,
from people who didn't think COVID was real to people that were spraying their walkways with bleach. And so every person, because it had to do with health, had their own what was important to them. And when that's the case, it makes it very, very difficult to put any sort of system in place because you're coming from so many different directions.
yeah, and during that time, I remember thinking at one point, I was like having a conversation with someone in the sunroom, and it was like 8 something at night, which wasn't even probably the latest, but I was having this conversation because it was about an offer, because there's multiple offers, and the offer's due tonight at 9 p.m. And I'm having this conversation, and I just remember thinking, I cannot wait for this person to be done so that I can like set new boundaries with the next person. Like, I can't change it now. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But the next person that comes through, I'm going to have a conversation with.
Yeah.
Because I was burning myself out. Now, that was a particularly difficult time, but this can happen at any point in your career.
You never know when it's going to happen. It's why we say so often is you have to put this stuff in place now before you're busy.
Yeah.
Because if you try to do it once you're busy, then it's impossible.
So
you know?
with sellers, it's about letting them know how communication is going to go, and then letting them know like showings and feedback, and that kind of communication happens on a weekly routine basis where I communicate it through a recap. And then I will call you the next day during business hours to go over it with you, or however your system is. That kind of communication does not happen every time there's a showing. It isn't possible for me to keep up with giving that kind of responsiveness when it's 7, 8 o'clock at night, which is when buyers need to see homes.
Yeah. The only time that it will be important that I will call you that day is if it's an offer that came in.
And I wouldn't,
right?
I also would set up expectations though, that just because I get an offer at 8 p.m.
Oh, that's different.
That I will call you when I receive an offer. I will present it to you during business hours.
Right. Yes, 100%.
I'm not going to send it to you without us going over it.
Think about that for a second. So you had a showing at 6 o'clock, right? They love the house. And so they went with their agent, they wrote up the offer and they sent it to you. Now it's 7:30 and you've got the offer. Are you the type of agent who's going to send that right over?
Well, if
I got an offer, I'm texting it to you. Guess what? You're up until 11 working on this.
And it's not urgent.
It's not urgent. You could have done that tomorrow.
It's not urgent. In fact, this is
all about time.
This is also a boundary
boundaries.
Can set with other agents. So since we're on sellers and offers coming in, is you can have a couple of different things. I'll just give a couple examples. I at one point when we were getting so many offers, I did set up a separate email address, but offers@thinklivebe.com, because then I could have an auto responder that said, "Thank you, I've received your offer. I'll be in touch, within 24 hours or whatever."
Mm-hmm.
Setting the boundary with them that, hey, I'm not like, I've got it.
Did you get my offer?
You don't need to text. You don't need to call.
The agents who call and then text again and text the third time.
And I understand, like, from their perspective.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if she got it.
And fair. Like, when I work with a buyer, I want to make sure. Sometimes stuff goes to spam.
Fighting for my clients.
And so I understand from the buyer perspective, and setting the boundary with the other agents that I did receive it. You don't need to do anything else, and I'll be in touch within, and then you set the time frame. And then that gives you time to then present it, talk to the sellers, etc. So other things with sellers that, like when I do an open house, so a couple things. Sellers sometimes want more than you can do, right? You can't do an open house at every one of your listings every single weekend. It wouldn't be possible. And so it's an expectation settings conversation, but it's also setting boundaries around your weekend time, right? Depending on when we list and what other listings we have and things like that, we may do an open house the first weekend. We may do it the second weekend. Sometimes I have a team member or a colleague from my office host the open house because I'm not personally available the weekend that we're listing. I'm setting boundaries so that they understand just because you decide that this week is the week that you want to sell your house doesn't mean I drop everything that I had planned this weekend so that I could host an open house at your house. That's not how it works. But I will make sure that you're taken care of. So that's what I think when you said why I have repeat and referral business, they're taken care of even with boundaries set in place because I explain the benefit and advantage to them for all of these boundaries and systems. It makes me better and more efficient.
Right. And when you say this is how this is going to work, and then that's exactly what happens, you build trust.
Yes.
And once they trust you, it's gravy at that point.
Yeah.
Right?
So if you tell someone, I'm going to recap all of the showing feedback and send it to you on Thursdays, and then you do that,
and it's presented nicely, and they get it right there,
it's
and
thorough,
it's
and
thorough,
there's thought put into it. Then it's like, oh, cool, I see how this is going to go.
Right.
And then they feel confident that number one, they feel confident in you, that they hired the right person, but then they feel confident in the process that they can wait to see what it says because they understand that.
Oh, she knows what she's doing. That I see that she's, even if they can't even if they don't put in their head, put two and two together and go, oh, she has systems in place.
Yeah.
Right. They feel seen and they feel safe, and seen and safe creates trust.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So with, I'm going to go to, let me finish up the open house thing so you're setting boundaries around your personal time to let them know that it may not be you that hosts an open house, and it may not be the first weekend. What I typically will say, I'm going to look at our schedule and see what we have available or who we have available to make sure we have a good outcome for the listing and the open house. And then you can also like if you know that you plan on hosting the first one, don't change your whole life around if you weren't planning on doing open houses this weekend. Maybe you have a plan where you do 2 a weekend and this weekend isn't one of them, but next weekend is. Then you go to the seller and say, great, so in order to have the best outcome, we're going to want to list next Monday or next Tuesday so that we can have an open house the first weekend that we launch the listing. How does that sound? They want to know what's the benefit to them. And so you've got to explain why that is important. Like, we're going to wait a week. And yes, that's not on your ideal schedule. And yet it will actually have the better outcome because I'm going to be able to host an open house that first weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And so then the other thing with open houses is one of the things that I got frustrated about at some point in my career was when I had a team and the team members were hosting the open houses, not me. The sellers still wanted to know how the open house went. And I'm like, well, if I have to stop what I'm doing and report feedback from the open house the same day, then I don't actually have the day off, right? I'm just waiting for the agent to get in touch with me and give me feedback. And then guess what would happen? Then the agent wouldn't. And then I'd be reaching out to them. And all of a sudden it turns into this whole thing. So I had to think about, well, listen, if I'm going to have the day off and somebody else is going to be doing the activity, then I have to then tell the seller, I will have a report to you on Monday morning.
Mm-hmm.
My team member is going to host the open house. They're going to gather feedback on the next day, and then they will report back and we'll debrief before I bring that feedback to you without any context, right? Like, let's give it a minute so that we can actually talk to the people and get some more information.
Yeah.
And then I'll bring that report to you.
Yeah. It's just, and that was with your own team members, but this could be what you were talking about in the example before where, I can't do it on Saturday. It's the week it's launching. I can only do it the following week. So I'm going to get somebody in my office to do it. Then it's like they have their own clients and their own thing. So as long as you set the expectation, we will go over all of this on Monday afternoon, because you're not going to do it in the morning because you got lead gen, right? Monday afternoon, after I've had my lunch and I'm ready to have that conversation with them, with things we've talked about in the last few episodes, where you've got that time to do it. You set it for that. before the open house is even scheduled.
Mm-hmm.
Then when you do those things, you're going to earn their trust. They're going to listen to what you say. And then when that offer does come in, they'll listen to your advice.
So we're running out of time.
I know.
So with buyers, this becomes more challenging because buyers, you have showings, and showings often they need weekends and evenings, right? And it makes sense because like if an average buyer sees 7 to 10 homes, they're not going to see that all at once, right? It's going to be 2 or 3 times that you're going out and showing properties, maybe more. Certainly I've shown more than that to people, but if it's 2 or 3 times, they can't take off work 2 or 3 times and then again for the inspection and then again for closing. Like they can't take off enough time to see the houses. So sometimes it is evenings and weekends. Boundaries are about setting that up in advance and saying to yourself, because this is with you, but it's also with the buyer, I'm going to show properties or set appointments on 3 evenings during the week. And then I'll leave 1 day on the weekend open for appointment, by appointment only. And then that's what you tell the buyer. It's like, great. So just as we get started with your search, what's your schedule normally like? Are you able to take off during the day? And they say, no, I only have evenings available. Great. I have 3 evenings available. I show properties on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday evenings, and then Saturday by appointment as well. As you can imagine, other buyers also need evenings and weekends, so they can fill up faster than a daytime appointment. So I'll do my best to accommodate you in the evenings since I know you can't get away from work. And then when you have people that can get off, you're going to like kind of illustrate to them how important it is
to book
during the daytime hours.
Yeah.
Great. I'm so excited that you can get off at 3 p.m.
Yeah. I'm not available 24/7 because if you say 24/7 and you've got other showings, well, then you lied to them. And now when you say, well, I can't do that, what about Tuesday? You've taken something away from them.
I do think it's like the biggest lie to start your relationship as a real estate agent. Say, I'm available 24/7 because you're physically not.
Yeah.
You do sleep, right?
Yeah.
You
you're
do
not.
take a shower, right? You go to the bathroom, you eat dinner, and you're not on the phone, I hope, while you're eating dinner. I know some people are like, well, I have done that before. And that's about boundaries, right?
Yeah.
You didn't set a boundary with somebody and their expectation was you take my call right this second, or you told yourself that it was. So with buyers, it's upfront expectations. And then the boundaries are, I don't show properties on Tuesday or Thursday evening. Like pick some time where you can have this balance. And then those are the blocked off days so that they never expect you to.
Yeah. And all they're seeing is that person, that agent, you, have systems. Even like I said, even if they don't know what the word systems is, they're not putting that together. You saying I'm available this time, and this time every single week, Saturdays by appointment only. They fill up fast in the evenings. Always better to show like in the afternoons if possible, blah, 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 blah. They go, oh, I feel safe with this person because they know what they're doing. Because they're not just saying, well, whatever you want to do is good with me. That's not what people want to hear. You think that's what this is, that same thing as the first part of the episode. What you think you're doing is saying to them, I am here for you. What you're actually saying is, I have no structure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And even if they're not putting all of that together, they're going to feel it. So it might sound like Kathryn saying it's either this or this. Hey, there are the puppies. Everybody take a shot. But anyway, you guys get the point.
But so you're 100% right. Subconsciously, they see you as somebody who just kind of flies around, does whatever you ask of them. You don't have structure. And so that's them. Then their expectation is that you're somebody who's going to jump whenever they say so.
Right.
And then on your side,
or
you think
the opposite, which is, well, they said that they would be available, but who really knows? Because last time they weren't.
Right. Well, that's what happens. So you say you're available 24/7 and then you go to your kid's soccer game and they call you and you text them back and you say, I'll have to call you later. I'm at my kid's soccer game.
Yeah.
Well,
That's the last thing they want to hear because you told them you were always available.
yeah.
And now you're telling me I'm not.
That just reminded me.
You're not getting the trust. You're not getting the trust.
That just reminded me of something that I think is really important. And we might run over a little bit on this episode, but I was talking with somebody recently. It was like a prospective seller. And she was talking about the previous agent and that she thought she was very complimentary on how nice he was. And she thought he was doing all he could, but that, it seemed like he had a lot of personal things and always out with his kids and doing stuff. And that he just didn't have the time and attention that it needed.
Mm-hmm. I've heard that a million times.
So there's two sides to this.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a fair thing for her to say that like, oh, he's too busy with his kids to sell your property? Like it sounds really, to me, it's like offensive and I don't even have kids. But at the same time, it's like, because what she heard every time she tried to reach out was, hey, instead of just calling someone back during the hours in which you're returning calls,
he said, I'm available whenever.
He told her I'm available whenever, and then would text her probably when she called and said, hey, I'm out, at my kids, whatever, and I'm not available, over and over and over again, to the point where she heard, you're not available to sell my house.
Right.
Now, that's not necessarily what the truth was,
well,
but
this
that's
is that thing that we were talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's that middle ground of what people both looking at the same situation and there's something being dropped in the middle.
So the flip side of that, how you handle that is like, this is why I said this is important, is that's about boundaries, but it's also like communication. You do not need to tell someone when you're not available. You not answering the phone at that time and them having to leave a message is them knowing you're not available. And I think
that's really funny. Yeah. So what you're saying is that she would text or call, he was at his kid's soccer game, and instead of just, I'll get back to her when I am available, he says, I'm not available. All she hears over and over again is I'm not available. But if he would have just waited and then left the soccer game and called her, then he would have been available then.
And listen, so hear me out because
funny. I never thought about that, but that is a thing.
And I get it because sometimes I
got to get back to him.
Sometimes
right?
I'm a high on responsiveness.
Right. I got to respond. I have to respond.
And so you get a text message, right? Not a call, text message. And it's sitting there and that little notification's there.
You know it's there and you're starting to.
And you're shaking your leg. You're like, I got to tell them something. Mm-hmm. You don't.
Yeah.
No, and that is what I mean about
probably the best piece of advice this whole episode is that.
So you had to listen 56 minutes to get the best piece of advice. But I'm serious. Like, let me finish this up because I'm very serious about this because it is something that takes discipline to not respond if your natural personality type is to respond and react. Because what you do not need to tell them that you're not available. You just need to respond with the information that they're looking for when you are available. And if you've set the boundaries, so if I say I respond to phone calls and text messages on Sunday from 12 to 5. So before 12 and after 5, I've got, family time or whatever. And then I do that thing. So then but it's still a Sunday, right? Like you might still want to say it's a Sunday. That's my family time, but I do respond to text messages and phone calls between 12 and 5 as I get, throughout the day. And then you do that. So they text you at 9 a.m. because it's on their mind and they want to put the message out there.
Yep. That's what happens.
But if you can tell yourself and you follow your own systems, you've told them that you respond between 12 and 5. So wait until 12 and then respond. Mm-hmm. Give them what they're looking for in the boundaries that you set. And two things happen. That builds trust with them because you did what you said you were going to do. And then you start to convince yourself that like, this works.
This is okay.
This is okay.
They didn't
I
care.
don't have to
they
respond.
Weren't mad.
And I didn't have to tell them whatever you're doing at 9 a.m. Hey, I'll get back to you later today because I'm going to do yoga this morning. They don't care.
All they hear is you don't have time for me. Even though you told them you weren't going to respond until between 12 and 5.
Yeah. Just do what you say.
Why would you do that? Yeah.
So anyways, those, it takes discipline. And
Yeah.
once you do it and you keep doing it and you practice that, you set this relationship up as you're the professional agent. This is the time frames in which you work. And then you do that work during those time frames. And guess what happens? You actually are a more productive person. Mm-hmm. So if I know we've got a your best move, but I've got a little add on to whatever the your best move is for this week. It's just like set your voicemail to say, what's the cutoff time? And maybe for you, it's not 6 p.m. You get to decide. I'm not telling you if you want to respond at 7 o'clock at night, because maybe you prefer to have a little bit more morning time with your kids or whatever, do whatever. But just set a voicemail up and say, if you've reached this message after 6 p.m., I'll return your phone call the next business day.
After 9 or after 11, right? Because don't get on the phone and talk about the showings at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Let me say one more thing.
You've got lead gen to do. So afternoon.
Let me say one more thing. Some agents do the like they change their voicemail every day and they say like, today I'll be responding to calls between 11 and 12 and 4 and 5. Mm-hmm. And I've got some lenders that do that as well. And I kind of appreciate it because then I know like when I'm going to expect the call back.
Right. Because it's a little more, it's personalized because it's for that day.
Yes. And
so you know that's not a message they left. They put on their machine. How old am I saying put it on their machine? 6 years ago and have no idea what it says.
Except, so that's the downfall of that is
you can't forget.
You have to change it every day. And so there's two parts to that too. Like number one, you have to remember to change it every day. And so if you don't, and then you don't call me back today because your hours today were supposed to be 1 and 2, and then you don't call me back, well, then I'm losing trust.
That's a razor's edge that you're walking on doing that every day.
And so it's not a system. Though I mean, I guess it's a system.
But yeah.
But it's not a consistent system. So you could tell someone, your other boundary could be for people, hey, I just want to let you know every day between the hours of 11 and 12 and 5 and 6, I return all my calls. I that way I can make sure I get through any messages I've had from the morning or the afternoon before the end of business for the day. That's when I do it. And then just do that every single day. I think that would be better than changing it based on meetings and stuff because
that's very, very difficult.
It's hard to keep up with. So I have had situations where I've called and then they didn't actually call me back.
I could see a lender because a lender's sitting in an office all day. Like they're not out in the field doing things. Right. So I could see a lender as a little bit more of the same thing happening every single day. With agents, it's always something different going on, more difficult to do. So, yeah.
Make it simple. Your best move that you can use, not a grind. It's a tip that saves you time. Your best move.
All right, it's time for this week's best move. One simple, smart thing to focus on this week. Not a giant to-do list, not something that takes hours, just one move that actually helps you move your business forward. And for this week, send 5 handwritten thank you notes. You'll strengthen loyalty and referral behavior.
Yes, I would say so. Thank you notes. So people are like, who am I saying thank you to? Well, who are the last 5 people that referred you business? Who are the last 5 people that you did business with? Who are the last 5 people that helped you in some way? Anybody that you can say thank you to. And if you can't think of thank yous, just make it thinking of you cards, you know, like when you mail something in a little like card envelope.
Yeah.
It is going to get opened.
Yes, 100%.
It is a very good touch.
Yeah, handwritten, 100%.
Yeah,
and easy, right? 5 cards.
Just real simple.
Sunday morning, just get up, write them out, stick them in the mail on Monday. You'll probably get text messages back. Thank you.
Yeah,
and then there's another touch.
I think you could also do something like this. Might seem. Okay, I was going to say maybe it seems creepy, but not really. Like, I mean, these are for your sphere, right? So you could go on to Facebook to the 5 people you're going to send note cards to and just, you know, they just went on vacation or something and say, hey, I loved your photos.
No, don't do that.
Don't do that? You think that's creepy?
Yeah, I think it's too creepy.
Okay, Pat says it's creepy, so don't do it.
But you could also, you could also, birthdays, all kinds of stuff.
Sure.
Like, this isn't rocket science. It's just a touch.
Small wins. Small wins. Small wins. Small wins. Small wins. Small wins.
Kat, you got a small win this week. Oh, wait, real quick. I know we've got some new listeners. Small wins.
Oh,
Tell them what small wins is and why we do it.
Well, small win is what it sounds like. It's just like one little thing that you can say, okay, I accomplished this week.
This one little, this one little thing happened, right? And you guys used to do this.
Yeah, with
at work, right?
Yeah, in a team environment, like, some days are not as fun as others. And so you come in and sometimes people are like all grumpy and stuff. And so like kicking the day off with a small win and thinking about like, what's one thing that I did yesterday that I can be proud of or that I accomplished?
Or that happened to me or that whatever.
Yeah,
right?
it just sets the tone to be more positive because look, you did accomplish something. Even if it felt like a crap day, like something good happened.
Yeah. Okay. So what's your small win this week?
My small win was I'm doing equity letters for past clients and then any past seller that ever asked for their home value or was inquired about selling. And it is tedious.
Is that giant stack of paper that's on the bar?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's tedious because I'm pulling little reports. I did have administrative help in getting the initial list together, but then I had to go through it myself because, I know things about these people that the admin just don't. It's just in my brain.
Yeah.
And so it was tedious. And when I've done this activity in the past, it led to listing appointments. So I know that this will have a good outcome. And so sometimes just like that tedious activity is just getting that done is the small win.
Well, it is. That's a big win, actually.
Well, it will be a big win when it turns into something.
Yeah.
But the tedious activity
Yes.
that like required me to focus and not get distracted.
Yes.
I did it.
Yeah, you got for sure. And then mine is listeners know we're working on our guest house here. We've got all of our tile delivered. So 3 different places, Edward Martin, Tile Bar, and Home Depot. Last tile to show up was Home Depot. Giant, 3 of the boxes had giant dents in them. And I opened them up. It was like broken tile, second tile, broken, third tile, broken. Worked my way all the way down. The last tile in the box was not broken. And so then I opened the other box, broken. They're all broken and stuff. It's a fragile kind of mosaic. So, and all broken. So, I was like, great. What, I ordered enough tile with a little bit of extra, but not that much extra. And what am I going to do with this? It was delivered by, wasn't delivered like by UPS. It was delivered by like a freight, whatever. But I picked up the phone. I called Home Depot. I got a person.
That's your small one right there.
I got a person on the phone. They knew what I was talking about what happens when tile. He gave me all the information. Just keep track of whatever broken ones there are. Bring them back in to Home Depot within 90 days. We'll give you your money back. Not like take a photo, send it to this email, blah, blah, blah. None of that stuff. Just bring them in. We'll just give you your money back. And I was like, oh, that's great. And because that could have taken days to figure out and could have been a really big pain, but it wasn't. And small win.
Nice.
Hey guys, for episode extras like the candy bag, questions from the web, or anything else we mentioned today, you can find it all at onseekingthebest.com. And for Kat and myself, thanks for listening, and we'll figure this all out next week.
Bye.
Fall down, get back up, keep on reaching, don't give up. Step by step, nothing less. This is how I seek the best.
This has been a Think, Live, Be production.